Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. On this show, we are balancing our inner emotions as we decide which wolf to feed. Ever feel like there's a tug of war happening inside you? One part of you wants to lounge on the couch, scrolling endlessly, indulging in snacks, and just existing in cozy bliss. Meanwhile, the other side is nagging at you, reminding you of the gym membership you're paying for, the book you said you would read, or that goal you promised yourself you'd chase. It's an internal battle, and let's be honest, some days the lazy wolf wins. But what if I told you that this struggle isn't just about self-discipline or willpower? It's a deeper, universal experience that has been described for generations through the ancient Cherokee story of the two wolves. According to this tale, inside each of us live two wolves. One represents negativity, anger, jealousy, regret, self-doubt, while the other embodies positivity, love, kindness, hope, and gratitude. They are constantly at odds, each vying for dominance over our thoughts, reactions, and ultimately, our lives. The question is, which wolf wins? The answer is simple but powerful: the one you feed. On this show, we're diving deep into this idea, exploring the dangers of leaning too far in either direction, and most importantly, how to maintain a healthy balance. Because let's face it, we're all human. Sometimes the negative wolf gets a few too many scraps, but the good news, we can always make a conscious choice to shift our focus, change our perspective, and start feeding the right wolf again. Let's start by getting on the same page. You may have heard of the Cherokee parable of the two wolves before, but if not, here's a quick refresher. An elder sits with his grandson and tells him that inside each person, two wolves are constantly battling. One wolf is negative, representing anger, envy, greed, arrogance, self-pity, resentment, and lies. The other wolf is positive, embodying love, peace, joy, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth. The grandson asks, which one wins? And the elder simply replies, the one you feed. It's a simple yet profound concept. Our emotions, actions, and habits are shaped by what we focus on and nurture. But let's take this beyond theory and make it personal. To bring this idea to life, let's grab a pen and paper, or you can open up the Notes app on your phone. I want you to think about the past 24 hours and write down 3 moments when you reacted emotionally to something big or small. Maybe you got frustrated in traffic, felt joy after helping a friend, or got stuck overthinking a decision. Now, next to each reaction, write which wolf you think you were feeding in that moment. Was it the negative wolf, spiraling into frustration or doubt? Or was it the positive wolf, choosing patience, kindness, or gratitude? No judgment here. This is just about awareness. The point isn't to banish the negative wolf entirely. Spoiler alert, you can't. The goal is to recognize when we're feeding it too much and make a conscious choice to shift the balance. Now, take a look at your list. What patterns do you notice? Are you feeding one wolf more than the other? And more importantly, if you could go back, would you make a different choice in any of those moments? This self-awareness exercise isn't about perfection. It's about pausing long enough to recognize which emotions are driving your actions and adjusting accordingly. As we move through the rest of the episode, Keep this list in mind. We're going to explore what it really means to feed each wolf and how to regain control when the wrong one starts taking over. Now that we've met our inner wolves, how do we know which one is influencing us in the moment? It's not always obvious. Sometimes negativity can just feel justified, and positivity can feel forced. Ever felt that satisfying little spark of righteous anger when someone cuts you off in traffic? Or convinced yourself that you're just being realistic when doubting your own abilities? Sometimes we don't realize which wolf we're feeding until it's already had a full meal. Let's do a little test to see if you can recognize which wolf is speaking in different situations. I'm going to give you a few common thoughts we've all experienced, and I want you to guess which wolf is talking, positive or negative. No overthinking. Just go with your gut. Are you ready? I'll never be good at this, so why even try? I messed up, but I can learn from this and do better next time. Everyone else has it figured out. I'm so far behind. I'm proud of how far I've come, even if I'm not where I want to be yet. I don't trust people. Every time I let my guard down, I get hurt. There are good people in the world. I just have to find the right ones. How did you do? It's pretty clear once you break it down, right? The negative wolf thrives on absolutes. Never, always, no one, everyone. And it feeds on doubt, fear, and comparison. The positive wolf, on the other hand, embraces growth, possibility, and resilience. Here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes the negative wolf pretends to be a positive wolf to keep you in its grips. Have you ever told yourself, I just expect the worst, so I won't get disappointed? Or, I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic. Or how about this one? If I don't trust people, they can't hurt me. These thoughts feel like self-protection, but in reality, they're fear in disguise. The negative wolf doesn't just show up as anger or sadness, it can creep in as cynicism, overthinking, and even perfectionism. Here's a simple trick: the gut check pause. The next time you have a strong emotional reaction, whether it's frustration, doubt, excitement, or hope, pause for just 3 seconds and ask yourself, is this thought pushing me forward or holding me back? If it's keeping you stuck, making you doubt yourself, or leading you to shut down, it's probably the negative wolf. If it's encouraging growth, connection, or resilience, you've got the positive wolf in your corner. Now, before we go any further, let's clear up a big misconception. Feeding the positive wolf doesn't mean ignoring the negative one. Negative emotions aren't bad. They serve a purpose. Fear keeps us safe. Sadness allows us to process loss. Anger signals when a boundary has been crossed. The goal isn't to eliminate negativity, but to make sure it's not the one driving the car. So now that we've started recognizing which wolf is speaking, how do we actively change which one we're feeding? That's exactly what we'll explore next. fresh perspective, let's delve into an article that examines the balance between positive and negative emotions. This piece discusses how both types of emotions serve essential functions and how achieving balance is key to well-being. Courtney E. Ackerman asks about positive and negative emotions. Do we need both? Found at Positive Psychology. You might think that positive psychology is all about positive emotions. You'd be forgiven for thinking that, given positive psychology's inherent positive bent. But the field isn't all about positive emotions. Negative emotions are an inevitable part of life and something that we need to experience in order to have a full, rich life. Why do we need negative emotions to complement the positive ones? People have been studying emotions for thousands of years. Given the heavy focus on feelings, it's not surprising that we know quite a bit about them. What is surprising is the lack of understanding around the necessity of both emotions for healthy functioning. Let's start by defining our terms. What are positive emotions? Positive emotions are emotions that we typically find pleasurable to experience. The Oxford Handbook of Positive Psychology defines them as pleasant or desirable situational responses, distinct from pleasurable sensation and under-differentiated positive effect. Basically, this definition is stating that positive emotions are pleasant responses to our environment or our internal dialogue that are more complex and targeted than simple sensations. So what are negative emotions? On the other hand, negative emotions are those that we typically don't find pleasurable to experience. Negative emotions can be defined as an unpleasant or unhappy emotion, which is evoked in individuals to express a negative effect towards an event or person. If an emotion discourages and drags you down, then it's most likely a negative emotion. Examples of positive and negative emotions will vary based on who you ask. Even the definition of an emotion can vary based on who answers the question. But when you define emotion, discerning between the two is an intuitive process. We seem to just know when emotions are positive and which are negative. Some common positive emotions include love, joy, satisfaction, contentment, interest, amusement, happiness, serenity, awe. And here are a few of the most commonly felt negative emotions: fear, anger, disgust, sadness, rage, loneliness, melancholy, annoyance. When we experience negative emotions, we generally aren't engaging in actions that align with our values, and our experience is not meeting our needs. When this happens, we must take a step back, pause, and find ways to attend to this depleted need. On the other hand, when we experience positive emotions, it signals that we engage in actions or activities that align with our values. They also suggest that the experience is meeting our needs. So we ought to approach them more readily and do them more often in these situations. Imagine an activity that makes you feel joy. Naturally, you would want to move towards that activity and do it more, helping you further satisfy your needs. Remember the list of negative emotions? Do you want to feel any of those emotions? You probably don't, and it's no wonder. It doesn't feel good to experience any of these emotions. Now, remember the list of positive emotions. Have you ever felt one of these emotions and thought to yourself, I wish I wasn't experiencing this emotion? Although you may have experienced this once or twice, it's generally at a time when we think we shouldn't feel positive. Outside of that, it's easy to see that this is a list of pleasurable emotions that people tend to seek out. We know that we need positive emotions to function effectively, grow, and thrive. So, if it's basically universally unpleasant for us to experience negative emotions and universally pleasant and desirable to experience positive emotions, do we actually need the negative ones at all? As it turns out, yes. Although they're not pleasant to experience, negative emotions are really necessary for a healthy life. This is true for two big reasons. Negative emotions give us a counterpoint to positive emotions. Without the negative, would the positive emotions still feel as good? Negative emotions serve evolutionary purposes, encouraging us to act in ways that boost our chances of survival and help us grow and develop as people. As Tracy Kennedy from Lifehack points out, there is a good reason for each of the basic emotions, both positive and negative. Anger, to fight against problems. Fear, to protect us from danger. Anticipation, to look forward and plan. Surprise, to focus on new situations. Joy, to remind us of what's important. Sadness, to connect us with those we love. Trust, to connect with people who help. Disgust, to reject what is unhealthy. Without fear, would you be here today? Or would you have engaged in some risky practices, putting yourself in unnecessary danger? Without disgust, would you have been able to refrain from ingesting any of the many harmful substances that you had access to as a toddler? As unpleasant as they may be, it can't be denied that negative emotions serve important purposes in our lives. Although you may think of stress as a solidly negative emotion or response to a situation, it's actually quite common for people to experience stress in neutral and positive situations as well. In fact, many experiences commonly thought of as positive can contribute huge amount of stress to our lives. Here are just a few examples. Planning for an upcoming wedding. Preparing to move somewhere you're excited to live. The holidays, especially with family. Having a baby. Starting a new job. It's perfectly natural to feel stress in all of those situations, even though you would probably classify them as happy and positive. It's yet another example of the interplay between positive and negative that gives our life balance. As we now know, positive and negative emotions are both vital for a healthy, well-rounded life. Let's take a look at how emotions in both categories impact us. Positive and negative emotions both have important roles to play when it comes to the brain, but they're generally separate roles. For example, positive emotions have been shown to impact the brain in the following ways. They can increase our performance on a cognitive task by lifting our spirits without distracting us like negative emotions. Positive emotions can trigger the reward pathways in our brain, contributing to lower levels of stress hormone and greater well-being. Positive emotions may help us broaden our horizons and widen our brain's scope of focus. Meanwhile, negative emotions are known to affect the brain in the following ways. Facilitating emotional conflict processing, helping us to make sense of incongruent or conflicting emotional information. In other words, negative emotions can help us figure tough emotional problems. Facilitating cognitive conflict processing, aiding us in comprehending incongruent or conflicting cognitive information. In other words, negative emotions can also help us make sense when we receive confusing signals. Reducing the experience of empathy, which can help protect us from getting too involved with others and staying focused on our goals. Both have impactful roles in our brain, and these roles are complementary rather than competitive. Okay, we've met our inner wolves. We've learned to recognize their voices. And now we're at the real challenge. How do we shift our focus and start intentionally feeding the right one? Because let's be honest, even when we know better, it's easy to slip into old habits. Negativity is sticky. Doubt, frustration, comparison, they all creep in when we're not paying attention. But the good news, you're in control of which wolf you feed. So, step 1, starve the negative wolf without guilt. First things first, let's talk about this starvation. That doesn't mean denying your feelings or pretending life is all sunshine and rainbows. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate negative emotions. It's to stop overfeeding them. Notice your triggers. What situations, people, or habits tend to fuel your negative wolf? Maybe it's doom scrolling social media, certain conversations, or even your own self-talk. Once you know your triggers, you can start to shift your response. Interrupt the pattern. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, whether it's self-doubt, overthinking, or comparison, literally say, "Nope, not today." Say it out loud if you have to. Redirect your attention to something productive or positive. Limit the negativity buffet. If you feed your mind junk food all day, negative news, gossip, pessimistic people, guess which wolf is getting stronger? Be mindful of what you consume. Step 2, feed the positive wolf with intention. Now that we're cutting back on the negativity buffet, let's make sure we're serving up something better. Here's how to actively strengthen the positive wolf. Practice gratitude. It's the ultimate power move. Each day, list 3 things you're grateful for, even the small stuff. A cup of coffee, a good laugh, a deep breath. Gratitude rewires your brain to look for what's right instead of what's wrong. Reframe the story. When something frustrating happens, ask yourself, how else can I look at this? Instead of, this is the worst day ever, try, this is a challenge, but I'll get through it. Instead of, I failed, say, I learned something valuable. Surround yourself with the right energy. If you spend time with negative people, it's like tossing extra treats to your bad wolf. Seek out uplifting people, books, podcasts like this one, and experiences that reinforce the mindset you want. Step 3, take small daily actions. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. This is about small, consistent choices. Here are a few simple ways to feed the right wolf every day. Start your morning with intention. Before reaching for your phone, set a positive tone by taking in a deep breath, stretching, having gratitude on your mind, or exercising a motivating mantra. Today is going to be a great day. I'm in charge. Do one thing that makes you feel proud, whether it's exercising, checking off a task, or encouraging someone else. Progress fuels confidence. Remember, do one thing that makes you feel proud. Your day doesn't have to start like everyone else. Find out what works for you. Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, take a deep breath. Ask, which wolf do I want to respond with? Then choose accordingly. End your day with a win. Before bed, reflect on one good thing that happened, no matter how small. Here's the bottom line. Your wolves don't control you. You control them. Every day, you have the power to decide which one gets stronger. And the more you choose to feed the right wolf, the easier it becomes. So what's one way you can start feeding your positive wolf right now? I'll give you some time to think about that as we look at this from another angle. Consider the concept of eliminating, a strategy that encourages creatively reframing challenges into opportunities for growth. It emphasizes acknowledging hardships and utilizing available resources to find innovative solutions. This approach aligns with feeding the positive wolf by transforming negative experiences into positive outcomes. Ria Bhagwat claims eliminating is a life strategy that'll make you happier, and there's science to prove it, found at Real Simple. When you think about the last time someone suggested, look on the bright side, what was your reaction? It's not always easy to observe the glass as half full when challenges arise. However, according to a new study published by Frontiers of Psychology, eliminating or creatively imagining and pursuing positive possibilities to cultivate adaptive, enjoyable experiences while maintaining a clear-eyed realism about challenges can help us thrive in our lives. It's not just research that agrees with the findings of eliminating. Psychologists do too. People who are more playful tend to see obstacles as opportunities for growth and fun, and they're able to be really imaginative in coming up with creative solutions for difficult situations, says Miriam Quinn, licensed clinical psychologist. Possibly because of this thinking style where obstacles are opportunities and this action-oriented copying style, playful people tend to lemonade when life gets hard. If you have a hard time balancing a positive attitude with the challenging feats of life, then lemonading might be the strategy you need. So what is it really? Lemonading is a mindset that works to creatively reframe hurdles into opportunities that presents avenues for growth and collaboration, explains Dr. Ignatov, board-certified psychiatrist. Such concepts stem from the field of positive psychology, and its roots can be tracked back to the old adage of making lemonade out of lemons, but seems to be gaining traction these days as more people look to find happiness in a chaotic life. It's important to note that lemonading is not the same as toxic positivity, Quinn says. Where toxic positivity pretends that a hardship isn't there, isn't a big deal, or doesn't matter so much, lemonading requires acknowledging the hardship, allowing space for tough emotions like sadness or fear that come along with the hardship, and then saying, okay, what resources do I have available to navigate this? And what are some creative solutions that might not be obvious for moving through this? With lemonading, playfulness is at the heart of dealing with life's toughest challenges. Even though we're frequently taught to grow into responsible adults, being playful doesn't make you any less of an adult. In fact, it may actually help you cope. As a society, we place such a premium on productivity that people often think of play as an indulgence, something that should be the very last thing on their to-do list. If you think about how packed schedules are for even grade schoolers, It's hard to be thoughtful about creating and protecting space for play when all these external factors are pushing you to give away all of your time to pursuits that have an end result: a promotion, a better grade, an impressive resume, a six-pack, a 7-minute mile that society tells you is so valuable. But when we start to move away from these traditional structures of life, we find that being our playful, silly, and authentic selves is much more fulfilling. Playfulness serves as a reset button for a person's psychology. It eases our jaw, takes the stress away, allowing the creativity to flow through our brain. As a society, we tend to shy away from playfulness, seeing it as immature and unproductive. And this limitation hinders the ability to appreciate the solutions brought forth and also to enjoy life. I know you're dying to get into the practice of eliminating, so let's go. I bet you can't guess what number 1 is. Yep, you're right. Gratitude journal. Gratitude journaling is one of the simplest ways to acknowledge what's going right in your life. Writing down 4 specific things helps our brain form the new connections that we need to start noticing the good things in life that are always present, even in the midst of the greatest hardships. So rather than noting something more generic like my family, Quinn suggests getting more specific. For example, something like, today my teenager asked to hug me. Number 2. Practice playing. When it comes to eliminating, things shouldn't be done in hopes of reaching a new goal. Instead, it should simply focus on what sparks joy. Play could be going for a run because it's fun to move your body, not because you're trying to get your 10,000 steps that day. Play could be doing a craft or baking bread or cooking a dish if that feels fun, or dancing in your kitchen to that song you loved in college. Number 3, find humor in the everyday. It's easy to laugh less when your life circumstances become stressful, but it's in these moments when laughter is most essential. Try your best to calmly accept rough patches and search for the most amusing part that lingers within most challenges. Understanding the humor makes it easier to cope with problems. While not every situation has something to laugh about, you'd be surprised how many do. Number 4, build a strong community. Friendships make us who we are, and they can also help us survive some of life's greatest hardships. I know people who have met their best friends in grief groups, or who have created incredibly successful careers as a result of something hard that happened, Quinn says. There is incredible value in creating community with those who are ahead of you in the process of moving through something hard, because we can learn from them, as well as with those who are behind us, because we can gain self-confidence and meaning from helping others. The Cherokee legend of the 2 wolves, again, is a timeless parable that speaks to the internal battle we all face between light and darkness, positivity and negativity, hope and fear. This story reminds us that our emotions, thoughts, and actions shape the person we become, and ultimately, we have the power to choose which wolf we feed. We're featuring this legend in today's show because it perfectly illustrates how our mindset influences our daily lives. It's not about ignoring the negative wolf, but ensuring that it doesn't take over. By recognizing its presence, understanding its role, and making intentional choices, we can cultivate resilience, joy, and balance. This isn't just an ancient tale. It's a practical roadmap for how we live, grow, and thrive. On the Anasazi Foundation's YouTube channel, I found The Legend of the 2 Wolves. Let's take a listen.
There is a legend I wish to share with you. It is said that a wise Cherokee elder was once teaching his young grandson about life. "There is a war going on inside of me," said the elder. "It is a war between the two wolves. One wolf is evil. He is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. But the other wolf is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." Then the elder placed a hand on his grandson's shoulder. "This same war is raging within you and within the heart of every man, woman, and child." The young man was thoughtful for a moment and then asked, "Which wolf will win?" The grandfather's reply was simple: "The one you feed." I have learned that the point of life's walk is not where or how far I move my feet, but how I am moved in my heart. If I walk far, but am angry toward others as I journey, I walk nowhere. If I conquer mountains, but hold grudges against others as I climb, I conquer nothing. If I see much, but regard others as enemies, I see no one. Whether we walk among our people or alone among the hills, happiness in life's walking depends on how we feel about others in our hearts. We travel only as far and as high as our hearts will take us. If I was to move forward, I needed to leave all that was backward behind. Whatever you carry that invites a backward walking, leave it behind. Which wolf will win? The one you feed.
If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you. This week, observe which wolf you're feeding with your thoughts and actions. Make conscious choices to nourish your positive wolf and watch how your inner landscape transforms. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear.